What's up, man?
How are you, brother? Hey. Thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, anytime, bro. How you doing?
Good, man. Yeah,
Awesome,
just staying
bro.
busy.
Hey, where you coming from?
Downtown Miami.
Here we go with another episode. Smart Body Stories, guys. Today we got Jaime Ortega, Mega Mind Master, I'm gonna call him, in Atlanta and in Miami, bi-coastal. Jaime, welcome to the show.
Bro, thank you for having me.
My man. So where do you come from? Where are you from originally?
So originally, ethnicity? I'm Mexican, right? So both my parents are Mexican. I was born here in the States. I actually grew up in Guanajuato, Mexico, until about the age of 7 or 8. After that, I grew up in Gainesville, Georgia, bro. It's a small town. It's actually the poultry capital of the world.
Poultry, chicken.
Yeah, it's chicken.
Shit.
So my dad. Oh my bad. Yeah, there you go.
Dad?
My dad, he worked in the chicken plant, bro. So like I came up. Father was a factory worker, and he just climbed the corporate ladder. I watched my dad go from like just basically the janitor entry level position. He went all the way from that to now running 3 plants. He's got a plant in Mississippi. So I had to work in the chicken plant myself, bro. So like 15 years old,
So you're like a chicken wrangler type.
Yeah, well, no, in the actual processing plant. So like we would process the meat and like, yeah. So I was working with a lot of the guys that were out on, when you go to jail and then they give you like opportunities to work.
A furlough like type thing?
Yeah, like so
like
for
work release.
Work release. Yeah. So I was working with a lot of guys in the factory from work release, bro. At 15 years old. Just fucking.
Nice. Mom was stay-at-home mom?
No, mom was actually working at Tyson, which was a bigger
Another
company.
chicken company.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
But she was in HR, shit like that. So she had the nice job. We're going up.
Right. Yep. We always going up.
Let's go. Okay. So yeah, then shortly after that, I grew up, I would say pretty privileged, bro. Like, I mean, we didn't necessarily struggle for anything. I just always watched my dad work hard, and he always instilled that in us as well.
Right.
And eventually, when it was time for me to go off to college, I didn't want to go because I was like, I don't really know what I want to do with my career. All I knew at the time was that I wanted to play soccer. But okay, I got to go to college.
Yep.
And then, once I got to college, I was like, okay, I'm on a soccer scholarship. I just got to thug it out, do what my parents want me to do, follow the traditional path. I quickly realized, like, okay, this isn't for me, but I just kept going through it because I had a lot of good relationships. A lot of teammates were from overseas,
right,
and everything like that. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm gonna make it, per se.
What did that mean to you at the time?
At the time, it meant like, okay, I'm gonna graduate. I'm gonna get my degree, my bachelor's degree. I'm gonna go into a nice corporate job, make my parents happy, make $70,000 a year, $68,000. And I remember Googling, what does a marketing degree pay? And it was like $70K, and that was my aspiration, bro. Wow. $70,000, not having to work at the chicken plant. That was making it big for you. That was making it big. And it's not to say, because my dad, keep in mind at the time, he was scaling in his career.
Right.
So like I would see that he, all of a sudden we're getting nicer stuff. All of a sudden, like, he's coming up in the business. So it wasn't like a knock. It was just like, I got to get a corporate job. That's as far as I can see.
Yeah, but back in the day, I guess you could say that 70 grand would probably be the equivalent of 150 here now today.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
With the way the times are.
And so what I did after that, bro, I was going into my senior year of college, and this is where it really kind of switched, like everything.
Right.
It was just a curveball. I actually got academically dismissed from school because my grades weren't good enough going into my senior year. And so at that point, they basically called me into the office. They let me know the news. And then they did give me an opportunity. I do have to say, they gave me an opportunity to kind of like basically go on academic probation. Like, okay, hey, this is the game plan. Like, if you don't follow this game plan, you're out. And then at that point, I made a decision, and I said, nah, like, I'm out. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to tell my parents. Obviously, I like I said, I'm very close with my family, and my dad is a huge influence in my life. And I was like, fuck, like, I don't know what I'm going to say, but I'm living at college and shit. Now I got to call my parents and say, hey, by the way, it's, I know I'm already at school. I already did preseason for soccer. Like, I'm already going into my senior year, but like now I'm going back.
Right.
Right. So I remember I called my pops and I told him, And my dad's reaction was not what I expected, because I expected him to be upset and everything like that. He said, okay, so what? I didn't go to school. Like,
Nice.
what's the problem? Like, now you just got to get your ass up and work. Like, it's just what it is. Like, now it's real life.
Right.
You know?
Wow.
Like, it's not, you know, he wasn't upset with me. My mom, on the other hand, you know, disappointed, all this stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But when I got back home, one of my cousins, we're making like $900 a week at the car dealership selling cars.
Right.
Keep in mind, I was like 21, 22 years old. So I'm like, shit, like, fuck yeah, 900 a week. That sounds great. I didn't fucking know. And I get into the car dealership, and they basically tell me, like, look, kid, you got 2 weeks. You're either going to sell or you're not. And, like, you got 2 weeks, figure it out. So I started selling cars. I started making money. I bought my first car. In between that, I started a landscaping company, which failed. Right? Because I was like, oh, on my days off, I'm going to do landscaping. So I thought I had this shit figured out. And, you know, I was cutting grass on my days off and then selling cars. I did that for like 9 months. The business on the landscaping side went to shit, but I kept selling cars. Well, I ended up getting my ass fired because I'm trying to do too many things at once. Okay. And not only that, like, this is a huge, like, wake-up call, because I was a college dropout, right, or academically dismissed. I got kicked out. I can't even say I got dropped out. I got kicked out.
You didn't have a choice on that one.
Yeah, I didn't have a choice. Exactly. I got kicked out of fucking school, bro. I'm 22 years old. I got to basically move back in to my parents' house. And, like, in my mind, I'm like, bro. But, hey, I developed my career. I started my company. Well, then the company goes to shit. I end up getting into Amway, what they call the pyramid scheme, right?
Yes, sir.
And honestly, yeah, exactly. And the thing is, everybody, like, all of us has probably been like approached or whatever the case is. And so I end up doing the pyramid scheme, right? I mean, and it wasn't, because ultimately I ended up learning a lot of shit, bro. Sure. Like personal development. That's when the first time I was exposed to it. And so I'm doing Amway, I got a landscaping company, and I'm selling cars. So I'm doing all three. Well, it caused me to start missing some Saturdays at the car dealership. And if you've ever been in the car dealership, then you understand.
That's the money day.
That's the money day.
That's the money day, boy.
So what ends up happening is I end up getting fired because I prioritized the conferences for Amway. Like all the personal development conferences, which were on the weekends. I prioritized those, and I ended up getting fired.
From the car dealer.
From the car dealer. So my landscaping business fails. I get fired from the car dealership. Now the only thing that I have left is Amway. And obviously, if you know anything, if you've ever been in the business at the very beginning, it's very difficult to make it in that business.
Yeah, very.
And, bro, I didn't have anything else. Like, that was it. Like, I'm back at home and I'm doing Amway. That's all I got going on.
Wow.
All my friends are graduating from D1 colleges. All my friends are, you know, getting corporate jobs, making the $70K a year, whatever, you know, $100,000 a year.
Shit.
And so that's when I was like, okay, well, like, I got to figure this out. Well, then COVID hits.
Oof.
As I'm applying to all these car dealerships, boom, they shut everything down. And luckily I'm in Georgia, so it didn't sound like it shut everything completely down.
Right.
But I mean, things were different. We didn't know what was on the other side of 2020
right.
at that time. And so college dropout, I got no other choice, bro. I ended up at Domino's Pizza. Domino's Pizza, bro. Like $10 an hour. Like, it's just what it was. Like, I had.
And they were ordering crazy during that time, right?
Bro, and
you were making more tips than salary, probably.
Well, the thing is, I couldn't even be a driver, bro. They wouldn't let me be a driver because my driving record, I had too many super speeders, bro.
Damn.
So it was like L after L after L after L after L, bro. And again, the only thing that I still kept consistent was the personal development through Amway, reading the books, listening to audios, listening to people that had made it in that business.
Right.
And that's what kept me positive, at least, right? I wasn't like going down this hole. But during the Domino's phase, it was like a dark time for me. Because again, I'll reiterate, it may not be a big deal to some of you guys out there because a lot of you guys are kind of weak-minded and shit like that in the world. But I was letting my own self down, my parents down, by the fact that I'm working at Domino's Pizza, making $10 an hour, when I could have easily gotten a college education paid for if I would have just maintained my grades.
Right.
I end up finding a career, and I end up getting fired because I'm prioritizing this Amway thing. I took a risk to start a landscaping company and lost a fuck ton of money, ruined my fucking credit at the time. About to get my Volkswagen Jetta repoed, and I'm at home on $10 an hour salary working at Domino's Pizza at 22 years old, bro. I was like down. I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do? Well, I just sucked it up and I applied at every fucking dealership that I could, bro. I was like, I know how to sell. I know how to sell cars. Like, that's what I know how to do. So let me get my ass in the dealership. So I started going to dealer to dealer to dealer till finally Rick Hendrick Chevrolet in Buford, Georgia gave me an opportunity, and they showed me the pay plan. I was like, bro, I don't care how much does the top guy here, how much do they sell? They pointed at him. He's like, he's cranking out like 35 a month. And I said, how much does he make?
35 cars.
Yeah.
And that equals what a month?
Shit, at the time, you're probably looking at least 30 bands.
30,000 a month?
Yeah.
So he was probably making about $1,000 per car.
Yeah, about, it was like
Give or take.
850 to 900. But I mean, the pay plan was structured, was based on volume. So I said, you know, I asked, like, you know, who's the top guy? He said 35 cars. Okay, bet. How much does that pay you? I saw the pay scale. All right. If that guy's selling 35 cars, I can sell 35 cars. Or I can sell close to fucking 35 cars to make that amount of money. And so I just took it upon myself, bro, right out of the gate. For the next 5 months, I took 5 days off total. So 1 day a month I would take off. But I worked open to close every single day from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. every fucking day, hammering it out. And I was selling 27, 29, 28. And I remember, I'll never forget when that first check hit, it was $11,000 hit my bank account. And I had sold like 25 cars. And I was like, holy shit, like, I just made $11K. Like, I didn't know what the fuck to do with it. Bro, I was going from $10 an hour at Domino's to now I just made $11,000 in 1 month. And then all of a sudden that starts piling and piling and piling. Well, 5 months later, I start training people at the dealership. Like, I'm like literally coaching these new guys, and then I'm pitching products for the guys in the finance office in Spanish because they didn't have a bilingual guy there.
Right.
So I'm closing deals in Spanish in the finance office. I start learning that side of the game. Within 5 months, I got promoted to a finance manager. And then that's when I was cranking out $25,000 a month, every single month. The following year, 2021, I made $2.7 million for the company by myself, like gross profit in my name on the books. Like, and, you know, I met Mr. Hendrick. Like, I got to do a lot of cool shit.
Right.
You know, I ended up buying a BMW. I remember it was like a 4 Series. And then I ended up getting as soon as the C8s came out, I got the new C8.
So 2.1 million for them netted you what?
2.7 for them netted me. Like, this is how fucked up corporate is, guys.
Listen to this, guys. He made them 2.7 million. Look what he got.
$2.7 million got me $275,000 gross.
Gross. So that's not even before taxes.
Straight up. So
I mean, coming from $10 an hour, that's huge. But just look at the contrast, you know. And I'm gonna follow that question up with: would you recommend somebody work for corporate?
Yes. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why.
Right.
Okay. There's a reason. Because had I not gone through the corporate route, I would have never realized how much corporations are actually taking from you, how much the government is taking from you, how much the IRS is taking from you, and how much like it really opened up my eyes. Because when I saw that, when I realized I just made this company $2.7 million and I get a check for $250,000, like he said, it sounds like a lot. But in reality is when you look at the ratio, I'm like, yo, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense at all. So I kept thugging it out, and my boss, the guy above me, ends up getting fired. Okay, he ended up getting fired for essentially taking a day off, right? It was his son's birthday. He didn't coordinate with the GM. The GM basically said, like, nah, you can't take your day off. And he was like, bro, it's my son's birthday. I'm not asking you.
Right.
And they fired his ass on the spot.
Wow.
Like, I saw it was like cutthroat.
Holy shit.
And so when I saw that, bro, like, I realized, like, these motherfuckers don't care about you, bro. Like, they don't give a shit. And I walked up to keep in mind, at this time, I was 24 at the time. I'm 26 now, so I was 24 at the time. I walked into my GM's office, and I'm like, hey, I know you just fired so-and-so. I want his spot. Like, just straight up. Like, it wasn't like, yo, straight up, I've been the top producer for the last 2 years. Like, consistently, I want a spot. Just straight up. And then he's like, so what are you going to do if I don't? Or, like, you know, he put me on the spot. And so I just looked him dead in the face and I said, well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to explore other options. It's just what it is. Like, no disrespect. Like, I'm here for you. I'm committed to the team. Like, I'm not saying that I got another, you know, situation. It's just, this is what it is. Like,
right.
I'm ready for the next step. If you don't feel like I'm ready for the next step, then that's perfectly fine. Like, I'm willing to bet on myself. I'm willing to walk away from $250,000 coming from $10 an hour, knowing all the shit that I built, you know, buying my mom Louis bags, buying my girls shit, you know, my dad, I got him a Porsche at the time. So it's like, I have all these things that just came to me quick. And I literally said, nah, like, fuck it. I'll go back to Domino's before, like, you're going to own me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I didn't have any bad blood at all. I just simply said, okay, thank you so much, you know, whatever. I guess he thought I was bluffing.
Oh, so he didn't give it to you?
No, he didn't. He didn't. He didn't give
shit.
me he didn't give me an opportunity, bro. So what I did is I thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the meeting, whatever. I went to my office, I packed up my shit, and I dipped. Got a flight to Miami. He calls me when I land, and he's like, yo, like, where are you at? Like, what's going on? And I said, well, sir, you told me, like, if I told you if I wasn't gonna get the spot, then, you know, I was gonna have to, I'm out. Yeah. And then he's like, whoa, we need to talk about it, blah, blah, blah. At that point,
talk about.
Yeah, at that point I was done. I was willing to die on my own sword. And that's actually a piece of advice that I want to say.
There you go.
Is that don't be afraid to die on your own sword. Don't be afraid to go with your gut. Too many times we try to seek the opinion of other people, especially our family members, our loved ones, or people that are close to us. But if they don't have the same vision as you, if they don't have the same thought process, if they don't have the same mind frame, and they're not elevating on the same frequency, they're not competing at the same frequency, then they're going to give you a piece of advice that is not going to be aligned with your goals. And if you end up taking that piece of advice, you're going to feel a lot shittier than if you would have just gone with your gut and fucked up. Bro, because in his words, right, I mean, in my boss's words at the time, like, am I going to quote unquote throw away my career, or am I going to stick it out with them? And I'm like, bro, I'm just not going to let anybody else own me in that way. Like, and especially for that ratio, bro, 2.7 and I get 250, like, fuck that. I'll go thug it out.
Crazy.
You know? And so I ended up, I'll never forget, it was a time where I was like, fuck, I don't know what I'm going to do. And luckily I had all the experience under my belt, so that makes you a little bit more confident. When you have the skill set, right? So like, just like anybody in the gym, when they develop that muscle memory to work out, it doesn't really scare them to have to take on a new challenge because they've already been through the shit.
They've been through the worst.
Yeah, they've been through the worst. They've already built themselves up.
Can't be worse than that.
And so at that point, I was like, bro, I went from Domino's to 250. Like, I'm good. Like, I have that experience under my belt. Nobody can take that away from me. Like, they could take my bread. They could take whatever the fuck they want to take, my title, my career, whatever, but they can't take the result, the experience, the know-how of going through a process.
Right.
And so my best friend at the time, and he's still my best friend to this day, Hattie Mir, his dad was working at a luxury store in Atlanta, and he was handling one of the other stores. And right away, he reached out to me, and he was like, yo, you have a spot here, like, let's run it. And that's what I did. I went there for about a year. I helped them open a $13 million facility in Buford, in the same town that the other dealership was at. Right. So it's crazy because, like, all the salespeople and the people that I used to work with, they would come to the dealership just to say hello to me. And here I am, $13 million facility. I'm running this whole facility. Wow. And, you know, that was like, you know, kind of the big FU. But, but I say that, you know, I learned a whole different skill set, a whole different challenge, a whole different line of cars. The network I started developing, because I started working with exotic cars, like high-end vehicles, selling Lambos, selling Ferraris, Rolls Royces right out of the showroom floor. You had rappers, TV stars, you know, a bunch of famous people coming in and out.
Right.
And I was the one helping them. I was the one greeting them. I was the face, you know, I'm shaking hands, kissing babies. But again, same thing happens, right? Like, after a year, you start producing, right? And we were the #1 store in the whole group. And same thing, I started looking at my checks. And keep in mind, again, I'll reiterate, yeah, $30,000 a month may sound wonderful. But when you understand that you're putting in all this effort, all this work, and you're leaving your family, you're leaving all your loved ones, you're not doing the shit that you want to do because you're making all these guys money, there's nothing wrong with that, because you'll learn the skill set, you'll become a pro, you'll build a reputation, you'll build a resume, but at some point it's going to be like, enough is enough. Like, I need my cheese too. Like, I'm boots on the ground.
Sure.
So, yeah, after that, I left there. I wrote a nice ass little, resignation letter. I got recruited by a Nissan dealer. But then at that point, when I got recruited by the Nissan dealer and I saw the corporate shit again, that's when I said, you know what, bro? Like, enough is enough. I had my rental company going already. Started off with a little Kia Soul. Like,
so you went, you got a car rental company?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started that while I was at the luxury dealer and I started off with a 2016 Kia Soul.
And you were just renting that?
Yeah.
Like a Airbnb type?
Yeah, just kind of like under the table. Like, again, it was a little Kia Soul, and it was kind of like just for the clients that would come in that their car was in service or whatever the case is, and the dealership didn't want to give them a loaner. Like, I'd be like, okay, hey, look, I got this car, and and the dealership didn't really care because they didn't have to put their car at risk.
Right.
It was like, all right, cool, like whatever, rent it out. And I remember the payment was $250, and I was renting it out. The first time I ever rented it out was $28 a day, and then now it's like, now I still have this car to this day. It's going out for like $75 a day.
So you're still doing that today?
Yeah, still doing that car. That car's in Atlanta. Yeah.
Wow.
That one makes me, just to give you an idea, the payment was $250, right? I'm making $450 a week on that car.
A week.
Yeah, and again, it's just little side money.
Sure, it's might as well. It's idle money, right?
Bro, and I have the same tenant on it every single month.
Wow.
So it's just, still goes out, but behind the scenes, I already had that going on. Right. So when I finally walked away from corporate, when I got to the Nissan store, and I realized, like, yo, what the fuck? Like, manifestation is real, guys. The night before I left the Nissan dealer, I literally remember having a conversation with somebody similar to this, and I said, if I ever get fired from my job again, it's God's way of telling me that you need to fucking grow some balls and fucking go do this shit on your own. And the next day, I swear to you, bro, they called me to the office. Like, hey, we're going to go a separate direction. It had nothing to do with performance. It had nothing to do with anything other than they literally cleared house. They literally fired multiple people, and, I had only been there a month, so it was fine. Like, it wasn't a big deal. And I'm not ashamed to share that, because it was truly like what pushed me to the next.
Sure. Like,
okay, now I'm good. I was driving a 2024 X6 at the time, which was earlier this year, January. I had a Mercedes C63. And I traded both of those vehicles in for 2 Corvettes. Then I started acquiring more vehicles along the way. And it's funny, the Corvettes that I got, like with one of the ones that you just saw, I bought them at the dealership where I walked away from, at the beginning of the story. So I went back to my boss, to my GM, and I dropped almost $200,000 on 2 cars right in his face. Wow. And he's the one that did the deal.
He is kicking himself in the ass.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was crazy. And then I got here, and then the story goes on, bro. Like, here is a whole different animal.
It may sound brutal, guys, but a lot of, like he said, manifestation is real. And anybody would probably say, oh, shit happens to me. I got fired today. Yeah, he got fired, but it didn't happen to him. It happened for him.
Absolutely. Because
that now enabled him to step up, level up, take the next step on what he is today. And you know what? He can look back now and laugh.
Absolutely.
And everybody else is like, what the hell? Kicking themselves in the ass.
Now I have 11 cars total, right? I have 3 in Atlanta, 11 here.
So you got 14 cars total.
14 cars total.
Right.
The Atlanta cars, I don't really, it's not that I don't count them, but that side of the coin is so much on autopilot now, where I don't have to be there, and I have the same tenants, month after month. Using. So it's just that true mailbox money there.
Are they all Corvettes?
No, and actually it's funny, the ones in Atlanta are actually economic vehicles, and I rent them out to people that work at the chicken plant, or that work just immigrants that are coming in, I just that's
low key,
it's low key,
modest means. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I'm renting to the construction guy that has a family to feed, that needs transportation. Like, I'm not worried about all the other stuff. And again, these are noble people that are just trying to make a good living, that other people aren't going to give them an opportunity to rent their car or whatever. So
and the 11 are here in Miami.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what's the name of that company?
Ortega Driven.
Ortega Driven.
Yeah.
And those are all making models. What making models?
So we got some Corvettes in there. We got BMWs in there. I got, we just acquired a Lambo. Oh, shit.
Go ahead. You got it. Next. Go. Another one on that one.
Let's go.
Go. That's it. Go. Boom.
Yeah.
One more. And good. Right. So you just acquired a Lambo. What kind?
Huracan. Yeah. And so I'm partnered up with one of my buddies that's out here, and so.
What's his name?
I'm going to introduce you. His name is Mike. He's actually from New York. He just came down from New York.
Really?
Yeah.
Where from?
Younger guy. I don't know exactly where in New York, but he was a Wall Street guy. He was working in Wall Street. He was really doing hard money loans and stuff like that.
BCD loans?
Yeah, and so he's a straight New Yorker, bro. I'm going to introduce you. Like, you guys
we'll get him on the show.
Yeah, he'll pull up in the Lambo. But yeah, we partnered up and we're doing some things together. And through all that, right, my passion outside of the cars, outside of the hustle, the work, the grind, I like connecting people. So I started the Megamind Connect back in January or early this year with my partner Hattie, the guy that got me into the
other store.
The luxury dealer. I'm partnered up with a guy out in Bali. His name is Chris, and he builds homes for indigenous people in Bali, like people in the jungle.
Wow.
And you believe it or not, the amount of money it costs to build somebody a home and change a life, like a generation, is only like $2,000, $3,000.
What?
You're building like these mini huts, because you're not building like these big ass homes,
right,
but they're just shelters, like for people like that have, let's say, tree branches and shit, like as homes. You build them a little hut for two grand, and now you've completely changed
somebody's life.
Changed somebody's life.
So
the ultimate goal with that was to get, build a true community of people that were gonna help the cause, right? And that was my vision. I wanted to see like what these people were about. Same way that you're doing, that you're interviewing me. Like, I wanted to meet these individuals that were popping off on Instagram, that were popping off on social media, and I wanted to see what they were really about. Like if they were really like the people that they portrayed.
They were, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are fakers.
Of course.
Yeah. So you want to, vet them.
Yeah. So that was my way of vetting them in a sense, right? And I invited them out to the first Megaminds event. I'll never forget it. I have it probably the ledger in my book bag, but I wrote out a ledger, like a statement, like a mission statement, basically, just stating like what I was trying to create with this community. And I wrote that statement on December 28th. I was with my boy Hattie, and I told him, I was like, bro, we got to take action. By January 25th, we launched our first event. And we had 11 guests there. Some of the bigger names is Will Change Lives. He does the Amazon FBA. We had Mr. Relentless, who's out in Atlanta, who does exotic rentals as well. We had a big realtor out there. His name is Ashton. I mean, we had a lot of people. And after the first event, I was like, okay, like we can really make this happen.
Right.
So I invested in film production, videography, company called AB Films. My boy Alfredo, his story is amazing. He's out in Mexico right now, and he's running his company in Mexico, like from him being in Mexico out here. And his story, I'll let him share that because eventually it'll be full circle. Right. But I came up with this idea to make a sponsorship board. And so I created this board and we printed it out and everything. We had the whole banner like about this size of the rack. And it had our logo, a big M, Megaminds of Atlanta. And then
that's this one, right?
Yes, it's this one right here. And we had slots that said your ad here or mega ad space. Right. Mega promo or whatever the case was. And we put it at our third event. At our third event, we had the likes of Don Pablo, who's a big roofing guy in Atlanta. He's been at all the masterminds with, he's actually had a mastermind with Yados recently at the Driven Mastermind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like, some of these guys are top producers. And, I showcased that banner at that event without even me pitching them. They started inquiring about, hey, what is this mega ad space? What is this? Are you selling sponsorships now? And I said, no, you're buying them. Like I didn't put no price points,
Right.
I wanted to see who would ask.
Who was biting,
Yeah, who was biting. And then I quickly filled up that board and raised in a matter of literally maybe 2 weeks for it to collect. I raised like $15,000.
Wow.
Yeah, just off of businesses that just showed up to the event and they wanted to be a part of what we had going on.
Wow.
So what we did was we kept expanding, we kept growing, we threw the logos on, we came up with a new banner, bigger and better. We moved to the venue to a little bit bigger spot. And now recently we partnered up with a company called Mega Max out in Marietta, Georgia. And they have a 15,000 square foot warehouse, you could call it, and where it's all content creation, anywhere from podcasts, from just regular film settings, meetings, co-working space, whatever the case is. And now we host our events there.
Wow. And now that leads me to my next question. You also have a place where you do podcasts, correct?
Which
I think that was our confusion the first time we spoke.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He thought I was calling him to do a podcast at his place.
Yeah.
Take a long flight to do that. Right?
No, I mean, people hit me up all the time, so I was like, oh, okay, maybe somebody just reaching out. And But no, it's called Dream Creative Space. It's out in Atlanta, and that's where we host all of our stuff.
Got it.
So we host your events there. We do the podcast there. It's all wireless too. It's pretty badass.
Right.
Like, and we have some, we have a turntable, so we pull in the cars and they're spinning and shit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And so why? So that's in Atlanta. Are you thinking of doing any of that stuff here in Miami?
So I hosted 2 Megamind events here at Sexy Fish.
Sexy Fish. Okay.
So I did 2 Megamind events, 2 Megamind dinners here at Sexy Fish, and we had a good turnout. First event was about 11 people. The second event was about 20 people. So there's growth and there's a lot of movement here.
Right.
A lot of movement here. My biggest, I guess you could say, hardship at the moment is being able to duplicate properly there, so I can focus here, like put my full attention. So we're working on some things with the team, and I'm a firm believer in like just firm foundation, firm growth. I'm not one of these guys that's out here trying to rush it, trying to force the sale, trying to do, like I'm all about the coaching and mentorship. So I do coach people individually, and I do have a group setting where I coach some people. But I think right now, there's a huge amount of information out there and a lot of people giving out this information, but they're not necessarily doing it in a way to actually give value to the individual. And I think that's the part that's missing, because like in this age of information, in this hustle culture, it's important to like have clear communication, clear expectation with the clients that are actually paying you, right? And give them a true game plan on how they're going to grow, and make them understand that it's not an easy process. Because a lot of times people will sell you the Lambo, they'll sell you the dream, they'll sell you the girls, the clubs, the nightlife, the watches, but they're not clear on how much effort it actually takes to get to that level.
Yeah.
And you know it better than anybody.
Yes, I do.
You know
100%.
It's not rainbows and butterflies, and they'll all pitch it that way.
And it's work. It's hard. Not to say that you can't have it, but it's not fucking. It's not an overnight thing. Those dreams they sell you, yeah, it can be done, and everybody sees the dream. Everybody sees the cars, the chicks, the watches, everybody. But nobody sees the 279,000 failures that occurred prior to that, right? That nobody talks about. Yeah. And I think that's what's good about guys like yourself and other guys who are now documenting all the fucking failures.
Yeah.
So they can see like, wow, this guy was fucking worse than I am. He was a loser. But then if you contrast what he is now, guy's flying high.
Yeah.
But we cannot and ever forget where he started.
And not only that, I don't, just because we're flying high, right? We may be on a certain level where we're flying high, we're doing all the shit, and you know this better than I do. Once you get to that level, it doesn't just stop. Like it simply just amplifies. And now,
you still got problems, just different problems.
Yeah,
not the same problems you had when you had nothing. It's a different set of problems.
Exactly. So it doesn't just go away. It's you start developing a callous mentality, callous mindset. You start viewing things in a completely different manner. Like you mentioned something that really resonates a lot with me is, stuff happens for you, not to you, right? And having that mentality, like, okay, you know what? I got this flat tire, but that happened for me because I need to know how to efficiently navigate through this simple issue.
Or it happened for you because in that light over there, somebody just got into an accident. It could have been you.
Literally. And just having that mind frame, I think is going to be important to anybody's success. But yeah,
absolutely. So do you recall when it was, or if you did have yet reached your first 7 figures?
Yeah, so I haven't reached my first 7 figures for myself. I have clearly for another company, right? But I've been a 6-figure guy, since 2020, end of 2020, beginning of 2021. Guys, to give you perspective, like true perspective, I went from $10 an hour in May of 2020 to officially making 6 figures in December of 2020.
$250,000, right?
Yeah, $250,000. And I always think back to that number because, again, guys, once you get to a certain level, once you get rich once,
it's easier to get rich again.
It's easier to get rich again, and you know exactly what you have to do to get there. It's not even a thing anymore.
And to avoid.
Yeah.
To avoid.
And then you'll never go back. You'll never go back or regress unless you stop doing the work.
Yes.
If you stop doing the work, yeah, you'll regress. But if you do not stop doing the work, maintaining that level is very simple. It's entry level actually at that point.
Do you have a certain network here in Miami now that you're helping reach that next level?
Yes, yeah. So I do want to, also peel back to say the reason I was able to take off as quickly as I did in Miami, although I do think at the beginning it was a little bit of a dogfight, but I think I was able to set myself up because I had relationships in place, the network in place. A buddy of mine by the name of Azarel, which you'll also meet because he's a bodybuilder as well.
Awesome.
He helped me out here, and I watched this guy. Keep in mind, he was working nightlife, and he was like, my concierge guy when I would come down here. And I watched this guy literally go from $50 in his bank account, right, to living in Brickell Heights penthouse now. I don't know if you're familiar, but this guy's up there, and now he hosts some of the wealthiest people from all over the world as far as coming into Miami. And he does crypto trading and stuff like that. He has a couple of other little side gigs, but the majority of his income comes from all these rich guys that come in from out of the country, because he's so well networked and he's so professional. I've never seen a promoter at the club not drink alcohol. The guy literally is just a stud. He's like, yo, I'm here to service you. You're the superstar. I ain't the superstar. Like, boom, boom, boom. Like, here's the girls. Here's everything.
You hear that, guys? So your network is your net worth. Don't forget about that. He just said it right there.
Absolutely. And it's crazy. So now, right, we have a couple people that reach out to me all the time, and throughout town, even people from back home that I coach and mentor them, and I kind of just show them what I do. Right, I'm not trying to be anybody different. Obviously, there's an exchange of money, it's a transaction, but at the end of the day, it's something where I feel that if I'm going to be able to give you enough value for you to give me your money, like, we're in this shit together, bro. Like, I'm going to walk you through, the process. I'm going to make sure that you're never really going to get a shortcut, but you can definitely collapse time.
Sure. Right?
Because if I would be a fool not to take advice from you, like, not knowing what you do or how much money you make or anything like that. I would be a fool simply because you've lived longer than I have.
Sure. But there's a damn, I don't remember his name, but he said, look, in the beginning you're gonna fucking suck. You're gonna suck, and it's gonna suck real bad. But every time you do it, you're gonna suck less. You're gonna suck less and less and less until one day you're not sucking anymore, and you're getting good, and then better, and then better, and then best. And it's just, you have to go through that transition of being the worst at something and eventually doing it until you become the best at something. But this doesn't happen without all this shit that's going on here. So don't forget that. If you're looking at these guys and you're talking to the you of 2017, what would you tell him to do, and what would you tell him not to do that it was a waste of time? Tell him right there.
Stop listening to the opinion of others and follow those that have the results that you're trying to achieve.
Right now.
Stop waiting on the right time, because the right time already happened. You already missed it. You already missed the bus, bro. Now you just got to go. That's really what I would have to say, because if I talk back to myself back then, I wouldn't necessarily tell myself, okay, yeah, you shouldn't have done this or you shouldn't have done that, but I definitely would have stopped fearing the opinion of others more. Like, stop fearing, like, even my parents, like, I love them to death, and my dad is my biggest role model, but they don't agree with all of my decisions.
Well, I think that has to do with when and how they were raised. It's we're different times now, You tell your mother now. My mother comes by. She's like, "Oh my God, you paid $3,000 rent. That's so expensive." I'm like, "Ma, it's the going rate. What do you stop bitching about money?" It's like they don't understand. Gas is too expensive. Why are you crying? You got to pay for it anyway. Stop bitching.
Yeah.
It's $4. So put what you can and keep driving.
Keep going.
You cannot. You can't. It doesn't work without it. So stop bitching and do what you got to do. The more you cry, the less you do. Because you stop yourself from doing what you got to do, and you go at it with that fucking crying attitude. It's not good.
No, absolutely not. And also, again, developing the callous mentality of, okay, like, I suck at this or I failed at this, but being able to swallow it and just keep going, bro. Just keep pushing, because at the end of the day, your competence, like how well you do something, will breed the confidence in which you do it. So if I become confident at something, it's because I've done it over and over and over and over and over and over. Do the work.
And you have courses?
No, so
so
I have my mastermind, which I like. The way that I promote my mastermind is, almost as a qualifier through other people's courses, right? So like, for example, you know, you say you have a course or whatever, you have a community of people that are, you know, trying to get better, trying to improve. You know, you put out a competition, a quest, you know, a challenge, and say, hey, the top 2 that get the challenge gets to come with Tony to the Megamind Mastermind at Sexy Fish on whatever day, you know, and they get to hang out with you, they get to hang out with other influencers, other entrepreneurs, and they get to create content. You know,
so how often is your mastermind?
So I have the Atlanta event every month. Okay. Now we are doing a huge launch in November specifically. Like, technically the next event's August 29th, but it's kind of too late for that one, given that it's in about a week and we already have all the spots full. But the next big event is going to be November. At the end of November, we haven't released the exact date yet, but you'll see the promos. And we're actually going to do JP Resin, a guy that does resin flooring, epoxy. Yeah. He's done Shaquille O'Neal's house. He's done Vic Blend's garage. He's done Trippie Redd's crib. Like, he's done a bunch of big projects. And he's actually going to be hosting a course at our facility in Atlanta. And he's going to paint the ground. He's going to do his course. He has all his students. You pay for his class. He teaches you the trade. You get to do the floor with him. And then we're going to showcase the floor at the Megamind event in November. Nice. And we're going to have some elite entrepreneurs there. We're going to have probably the biggest names that we've had so far. And yeah, it's going to be a great time. So be sure that, you know, if the person that you're being coached by, you know, nudge at them and be like, yo, can we go to Megaminds? Like, what do I got to do?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. He said, you know, about coaches, you know, if your coach is not being coached or doesn't have a coach, something's wrong, right? Your coach should be getting, every coach should be getting coached. If not, he's going to get stale. You know, I'm a coach to hundreds of athletes and hundreds of people, but I also have coaches. You know, it's the only way I can stay on top of the game. So don't be afraid to ask your coach, hey, who are you getting coached by? You know, if he's a great coach, he's going to tell you, oh, I'm getting coached by so-and-so. And it's usually somebody above them. How can they reach you?
So you can find me on Instagram at Jaime Empowers Dreams, right? And again, for spelling purposes, JAIME Empowers Dreams. Just spell it out. You'll find me on Instagram. Or you can go to megamindconnect.com. If you go to megamindconnect.com, you'll see all the stuff that we got going on. You can stay up to date with all the latest updates, the latest news of different entrepreneurs. You can go to the Megamind podcast, which is on YouTube as well. Or you can just pull up to Miami, hit me up, rent a car. You know, I also do the concierge thing. So, you know, if you need any connections anywhere, I got you. You know, we're here.
There you go. Follow him, subscribe, follow, do all that good stuff. Him and I are going to talk some now, see how we can elevate to the next level. And I'll see you guys on the other side.
Let's do it.
Peace.
Peace.